Is the alpha male who you think it is? Part 2. If you didn't catch part 1, stop this tape right now and go catch up, because I promise you it will be worth it. Welcome to another episode of the Bridges of Belief podcast. I'm Jessica Santosa Carlton from Dateability, and I'm joined again by 3 incredible men.
Poya Heidari-Shahi.
Kevin Paulraj.
And from Men with Manners,
Matthew MacDonald.
welcome, gentlemen. So last episode, we dug into the classic alpha, the contextual alpha, and the quiet alpha types, the first 3. And as I said, I think there are at least 6. We might even uncover more tonight, but here is where we landed from last episode. The classic alphas are born through biology, things like height, physique, voice. But most men eventually age out of that category. Contextual alphas are forged. It's about mastering your domain and learning to hold frame. But quiet alphas, they're character-led. Think Jesus, non-reactive, present, and respected in silence. But that was only half the picture, because today we're unpacking the final 3. The charismatic alpha, the servant alpha, and the strategic alpha. 3 archetypes that redefine power, presence, and influence in a world that's still asking, who is really leading? So let's get to alpha number 4, gentlemen. I have to say, the guy that I chose for the charismatic alpha, the weekend my husband proposed to me in 2018, we went and saw him live, his comic show live. He was freaking hilarious as always. But I kind of see him, if you're watching, you'll know who you are. I kind of see you as my younger brother that that I am so proud of, who was an Asian who made it in the art scene. But Aaron Chen.
Oh, he's a Christian.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
told me that last time.
Yeah,
I'm
a few of my mates know him.
I'm still actually making sense. All the data in my head is like, yes, it makes sense. It comes together. Play the clip.
Hey, hello, how's it going? Yeah, sick. I'm from Australia. Thank you. I know I look different to how I sound. You guys don't have this combo over here. This is a rare combo. I moved to New York a year ago, and moving to New York, walking through the streets of New York City, looking and sounding like this, I feel like a woke remake of Crocodile Dundee. It's unbelievable. It's hard to move here as an Australian because you guys are doing a different thing to us, you know? You guys got your own system. I'm talking about measurements. You're pretty original with it. You guys are doing feet, we're doing meters, you're doing like pounds, we're doing kilos. It's like I'm doing so much math all the time. And it's invisible to you guys. Like, you don't know how much math I'm doing. You know the conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius is Fahrenheit minus 32 multiplied by 5/9. What is that? That's unbelievable. A guy came up to me the other day. He's like, I'm from Florida. Back home it's 72. I'm like, that's warm.
Okay, so the charismatic alpha, the guy who lifts the whole room with zero need for height, looks, or physical dominance, as per the example. Okay, first of all, some of you were laughing, some of you weren't. What do we think of Aaron so far?
Yeah, I think Aaron's great. I saw him actually in the city one night. Yeah, he's a super funny dude.
That's all. That's it.
I feel like there's more to that story.
No. Yeah, that's sorry. I'm just very tired of the weekend was pretty hectic. So apologies if I'm a little don't have quite the same pizzazz as normal.
We'll warm up.
We'll tickle you later.
We're gonna warm up. What did you think of?
Firstly, look, I wouldn't actually call him an alpha myself, but
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm open to new definitions because even this idea that there was different definitions, I wasn't even thinking of that until you introduced this topic, and I was like, okay, that is very, very true. So that being said, I think that he's just someone who he's in his element and he's got eyes on him and he's performing and he's doing well. So I wouldn't personally, for some reason, intuitively, I don't get the sense that he's an alpha, but yeah, I'm open to exploring this and see where this goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'd
Well,
say he's an alpha. I've met guys like that, and they just hold the whole room,
Wow.
and everyone's just hanging off everything they say. There's actually interestingly, I watched a movie a few months ago called A Different Man, and it's about a guy with a facial disfigurement, and he gets I won't spoil it. This is the blurb. He gets it sorted, but so he has a normal face. He's played by Sebastian Stan, very handsome actor, and he still has those same insecurities he had when he had the disfigurement. And then he meets another guy who has the same condition, and it's much worse. And this guy's like super charming, charismatic, and ends up like just wooing everyone, and he feels threatened by him. And that really I think that's so true. I think these type of guys I don't think they're not your classically good looking people. I mean, they can be. You have Russell Brand who's like tall. I think Russell Brand fits in this category. But you get a lot of them as well who maybe are a bit like shorter, maybe not in as good shape, kind of dorky looking maybe. And yet like Aziz Ansari, good example. You know, he's not like a buff guy. He's got a bit of a dad bod, but hey, a lot of people seem to be into him. He can hold a room. You know, I think there's heaps of other guys. But yeah,
what do you reckon about like Paul Giamatti? Is that the same sort of thing?
I don't know if he's that
from,
type of guy.
Billions.
Oh yeah. He's a very strategic alpha. Yeah.
In his character in that.
Spoiler,
but in terms of the charisma, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not familiar enough with him.
What about like Noel Fielding from the Mighty Boosh?
Oh yeah, great example.
Okay.
Noel
As a
Fielding.
charis-
Do you guys
as a
know?
charismatic-
Have you seen
No, I
IT
don't know
Crowd?
Oh,
You know,
I've seen it advertised.
You
but I
know,
haven't seen
there's
the
this
show.
great character he plays called Richmond, the office golf. Anyway, it's a little side. We can go down another time. But yeah, he's an example. Who
Christopher
else?
Walken.
Nah, I wouldn't say Walken. maybe
So
Adam
it's not
Sandler?
just about
I would say
charisma.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah, Adam
is a
Sandler's not a
charismatic
very
alpha.
classically good-looking guy.
Okay.
But
Can I just mention other guys who I was going to choose? Carl Lentz, the preacher,
really,
as a charismatic alpha.
Charismatic alpha.
I mean, yeah,
No,
yeah.
you think no?
I would say he's more of. Oh,
Classic?
yeah, no, he does. I think there's crossover with the jock, maybe.
Yep.
But Jess, can I ask
yeah, you
you,
might be
because I
right.
have to come back to this, which is like
Yeah.
now I'm starting to go. It's hard to now define alpha because like the first three I get it, because for example Poya immediately said like, you know, one of his things is, you know, he has the whole room hanging off every word,
Yes.
right? But here's a question: I could be a musician that has everyone like focusing in. Does that mean I'm an alpha now because I'm like a really good musician?
Maybe contextual.
Yeah, like so then.
So music contextual alpha, like a John Mayer. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, what does now an alpha mean? Like, if we were to look at the overall term, if we look at the umbrella term, what would be the umbrella term of like an alpha?
Well, in the last episode, we defined it as dominance and followability.
Right. Okay.
So the dominance of the charismatic alpha, exemplified by Aaron Chen, is he can hold the whole room
Yeah.
with zero need for height, looks, or physical dominance.
Gotcha.
The other thing that I should have mentioned is this is the man whose power is relational. He's funny, he's emotionally quick, he's intuitive, and people just want to be around him. And that's exactly Aaron. Also, he's not tall, he's not slick, he's not loud, but there's gravitational pull to his presence. And this is what makes him the charismatic alpha, one of the most disarming, underestimated forms of masculine leadership. I love that you've thrown the spanner in the works, Kevin, because I had a friend from ages ago, but I would not be surprised if this was a movie or a TV show trope from the Americas or something. But it's the guy who just doesn't feel noticed by anybody.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's a little bit overweight, maybe he's a little bit scrawny, so then he becomes the class clown to be noticed by everybody.
Got you. Yeah,
So I reckon that is the story for a lot of charismatic alphas. I've also read Will Smith's biography written by Mark Manson,
Yeah, he's a charismatic alpha.
and
for
he
sure.
was the charismatic alpha.
Yeah.
And he became the clown, not the class clown, but the family clown, because his family life was so dysfunctional that he
Yeah.
decided to be the funny one in order to lift everyone up. I don't know. So, Kevin, do you agree in terms of dominance and followability definition?
You know what? Ultimately, I have to say that it's a subjective topic, so I can never say what's right, what's wrong. But, you know, when I think about it, I go, yeah, it's weird that I would automatically say that Will Smith is the charismatic alpha. But for some reason, it's just a personal opinion. I could be wrong here. But I don't see him as a charismatic alpha. But then I think about it and I was like, for some reason, the comedy that I get from this guy is like kind of like, even though he didn't do it, almost like I'm ready for the self-deprecating type of humor.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the class clown energy, I had to be funny. That's what I had to go with. Self-deprecating humor. Where if I look at someone like Will Smith, it's a little different. So I don't know. I think I'm just going off intuition, but yeah. Or you could say, yeah, that's where I'd sit with it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I also think with that alpha, being an alpha is always contextual, right? You're not going to be an alpha in every context.
Yeah.
So I think for someone like Aaron Chen, he would be an alpha in certain contexts. Likewise, Will Smith. There's a lot of people who like Aaron Chen's comedy that think Will Smith's not that funny. Vice
I would be
versa.
one of those people.
Sorry?
I would be one of those
Yeah,
people.
I think Aaron Chen's funnier than Will Smith. I think Will Smith's hilarious, but like Aaron Chen's comedy definitely, I think, right up our alley.
Yeah. Because for me,
Yeah.
now as I'm analyzing this topic conversation even more, for me, I'm realizing that my criteria is not that he's funny, so he's an alpha. It's almost like someone that you put on a pedestal and you kind of respect. And I'm not saying I don't respect him, but I'm like,
Sorry, Aaron,
I find
if you're
him funny.
listening.
I'm finding him funny, but I'm like, I don't know. It's an intuitive
Do you
thing.
think, okay, real talk, do you think it's because Will Smith's good looking? Because Will Smith's very good looking. Russell Brand is like tall and like kind of, it's got a bit of pizzazz.
He's definitely charismatic alpha. Would you say that that's the case? Like Russell Brand?
Russell Brand. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, what if I gave it, add more dimension to the definition, which is almost the storyteller alpha. Sorry, or the storyteller. Someone who's the best at telling stories.
That's interesting.
He's
Yeah.
also the charismatic alpha. He's not as funny as Aaron Chen.
Yeah.
Maybe I've thrown you off by the Aaron Chen example.
Yeah.
But I think that, so something that in my notes I wrote, is this kind of charisma a genuine superpower, or does it risk becoming a performance if it's not rooted in identity? Because it could be, someone could just be really funny,
Yeah.
but when they go home alone at night, they're crying and cutting themselves or something really dark.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I'm dying to know what you think.
Yeah, I'm dying to know what you think too, Matt.
I'm coming to terms with it all in terms of I'm imagining Aaron Chen as the prototype here, or any of the people that we mentioned. I'm kind of thinking, like, when I think of an alpha, it is the leader of the group. So I'm kind of picturing some of these different alphas, if they're all in a group together, who will become the leader of that group? And it's like, will it be Aaron Chen? Well, he'll certainly have a place in the group because what a funny, awesome guy he is to be around, and he has so much value.
A lot of value.
But then, I guess a big part for me, or perhaps it's my bias, given the space I work in, is how attractive are you to women? Is how much of an alpha you are. So
I have data points on this.
Nice.
and I
This
just
is
think
why I also,
sometimes the funny dude who's super charismatic. I mean, I've seen that 1,000 times, and they always they're always great with women. They always attract
They are.
really great women.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for that reason, I can't think of any reason not to call Aaron that. And I think you've got to take the fame away is one of the hardest ones as well. But it's hard to have examples that aren't relatable to people. So you need famous people. But if Aaron didn't have his fame and you met him at a house party, you'd still see him as super magnetic.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like Poya's like grounded and sold on this.
I've met
Kevin's like,
I've met these guys.
really,
These
man?
are the guys I feel the most threatened by.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I normally hate these guys. Get out, stop crapping my style. Yeah. 'Cause
I guess, one way of looking at it, it's very hard for me to like quantify this, but when each one of those alphas we talked about, each one of the three, now the four, every time that they're in that element, I go, yeah, I could kind of like be led by these guys. In that moment, I'm like, yeah, this guy's a leader. And I get that every vibe, but I don't get that with this guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
for some
okay.
reason, even Will Smith, like I get the sense of, I could like, there's this moment of power where you look up to them and you're like, yeah, I get it. But then, just being funny, and because I get the self-deprecating kind of funny vibe from him, as opposed to the kind of different funny vibe from him. I don't know. Like if it was Dave Chappelle, if it was Russell Peters, it's different. You know what I mean? I get this kind of self-deprecating humor vibes.
Yeah.
Even though that might not be the case, it's just the vibe I get.
Okay. Do you have an issue with self-deprecating humor? Like, do you think it comes from a place of insecurity, or do you think
I
it
think
comes
it's fine
from...
coming from a place of insecurity, but I think in that person's evolution of personal development, if they want to go to the next level of their consciousness or whatever you want to call it, which then it might not be the most optimal. But that's a good question that you picked that. Yeah.
What do you think about separating? So self-deprecation, I often speak to clients about this, and I say self-deprecate about your weaknesses, but not your insecurities. So if there's a comment you could make that if she joins in and insults you back on it, or add something to it, if that's going to insult you, don't make the comment in the first place.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's your terrible singing voice, or you can only cook spaghetti or whatever, it's when she joins in on the joke, it's all well and good, and it also doesn't seem like this guy's just seeking validation behind his comment here.
Yeah.
What do you think about separating it like that? Can you see the value in it?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I definitely see that. But coming back to the vibe, look, it's just an opinion. I just don't get the vibe yet. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we can put up a poll and just say, what do you guys think? Like, what do you guys think? So it's just my thing. I don't see it as a.
I reckon if Aaron Chen sees that, he's totally going to turn this into a comedy bit. He's going to be like, I was on this podcast. And they referred to me as an alpha, and I was like, yeah. And then this other guy was like, I don't see him as an alpha. And I was like, what?
Hey, but the important thing is I have to give it. The thing is, whatever you are, can he get women? Yeah, absolutely. Can he be leader of the group?
I've seen it. I think you can.
think yes.
I think 100. I've seen these guys because they're so confident, and then they end up making you want. They end up like getting this thing where you want them to like you, but they just won't give you that. Yeah. I find people like him more compelling than a jock. Or what was the first one? The jock, or what was the classic alpha?
The classic alpha.
I find that more like. To me, that's more of like
As do I.
Because I've met a lot of classic alphas, and I can get them to.
But the jocks have their time is finished. I mean, the age of the jock is finished.
By the time they hit 40, it's over.
No, but even younger guys, even guys my age, I know there are guys my age I know who are way bigger than me, jacked, and I don't feel threatened by them at all. But I feel threatened by a guy like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Those guys, like, I feel like I can get them easily to let me be the leader. I can't have that with someone like that.
Okay. You know what? Like, I get what you're saying, and Jess, I guess I'll ask you, and then you can have the last say, and then you can take it wherever you need to take it. It's like, in a way, like the woman's perspective is really, really important because it kind of like, it's I guess to a certain degree, the idea of an alpha from a woman's perspective is like they would look up to him. The question is, do you get that vibe of like you could look up to someone like that?
Okay.
In a moment.
If he has proven his depth, then yes, because I actually have real data from my female clients who work with me privately. And she said, I'm always drawn to the charismatic alpha. That is my trail of ex-boyfriends. They're all the charismatic alpha.
But the question is Aaron Chen a charismatic alpha? So my question to you would be, do you really see Aaron Chen the way that you would see other alphas? Like, is there something different, or is it's the exact same?
From someone who has watched his journey, I've like seen nearly everything he's done.
Yeah.
And I've seen his growth and I've seen his evolution, not just as a comedian, but as a man.
Yeah, got
and
you.
I not that I maybe it's because I still see him as my younger brother, but I'm
but even
just
that
like,
you said he's younger brother.
But it's because he's younger than me. He's actually chronologically younger than me. No, I'm way too old for him. Anyway, but the point being is that if someone like that has proven his depth, and I see him just like how Poya described, just take a whole room captive with their story, then yes.
Okay.
Undoubtedly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still a bit icky about that, but go on.
No, that's okay.
We'll let the audience.
Maybe I've thrown you off with Aaron Chen.
I think you haven't had much exposure with those types of guys. Because I've looked at your friend group. Most of your friends are the first three. I reckon.
Man.
I don't think you've met that. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like from conversations we've had, I don't think you've met many guys like that.
Yeah.
But maybe
I get you.
But
like Russell Brand would have been a great example of that.
You reckon?
Russell Brand would be an amazing.
But there's crossover with Russell Brand because he's tall, he's good looking.
I think my pastor, I go to Oxford Falls C3, Alex Lee, he's definitely charismatic alpha.
Right.
Like tall, lanky, weird Jesus hair.
Yeah.
Like just not much to look at, but he speaks and you're like, wow, you're hilarious.
Yeah.
And you're caring, and it's the emotional intelligence. Charismatic alphas have emotional intelligence as well.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
And can show it and signal it a lot more than the other ones can.
So that's why Kevin can't relate.
Interesting. I don't know.
No,
it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't vibe with me fully. But like, fair enough.
Okay. That's
fair enough. It's perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna throw another spanner in the works and then close it off. Tie a bow around the charismatic alpha. But I actually think, Kevin, you're a charismatic alpha.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I do.
So what did the other okay, so what are the other like, because that's the thing, I'm very different to Aaron Chen. I don't know.
You don't have to be to get a fringe and do comedy. No.
So what would you, if you had to summarize what is a charismatic alpha in like one sentence, what would you say it is?
Gravitational pull in the form of communication.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And humor is just one of them.
Humor.
Okay.
Yeah.
But could it also not be humor?
Yeah.
As well.
It could also not be humor.
Yeah.
As I said, Carl Lentz.
Carl Lentz. Yeah,
I thought
got
Carl
you.
Lentz was a charismatic alpha.
Got
a lot
you.
of preachers.
Yeah.
Maybe Brian Houston is a charismatic alpha.
Yeah. Oh, he's
Alright,
gonna
that-
get cut. Yeah. I told you.
No.
Oh no, I was gonna say not so much now.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Let's
Mr.
not go
Houston.
into that. Yeah. Hope you're not
Yeah,
listening.
gotcha,
Okay.
I hope you're listening now.
You are? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Fair enough.
Let's go to alpha number 5, gentlemen. He's a long game thinker, a legacy builder. He's calm. He's a calm authority that shapes people and culture from behind the scenes. And before you all freak out when we introduce this next example, this is a skill set that just is neither good nor bad. This is the strategic alpha, the kingmaker. So I like to call him the man behind the curtain or the chess player. Not the loudest man in the room, but he's the one pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He leads with foresight, structure, and dangerous clarity. And when he speaks, it's not noise, it's orchestration. Most strategic alphas use their gifts for good, but what happens when those gifts serve ego instead of virtue? Enter Lex Luthor, billionaire, intellect, and manipulator. In Batman vs. Superman, he's not throwing punches, he's pitting gods against each other with the precision of a chess grandmaster. Play the clip.
As much as I'd enjoy seeing that, first you've got some business with me. Sorry it took me so long. I had to go get my power suit.
You would dare challenge me? Insanity.
Oh, I'm not here to challenge you, Darkseid. Quite the contrary. I've got something you want. The only thing you want.
The anti-life equation.
My gift to you.
So in this scene, Lex delivers a chilling monologue to Superman. No yelling, no weapons, just ideas. Okay, Poya, you're the expert.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
So I'll just clarify for context. We're originally going to use a BVS clip, and then me being the nerd that I am, I was like, Jess, do not use that clip. It is a terrible iteration of Lex Luthor. No offense to Jesse Eisenberg, but that was, yeah. So
No.
this is from the Justice League cartoon. And so the context is you have Darkseid, who is, imagine Thanos, but like 10 times stronger. And you have Lex Luthor, who is a mere mortal, and Lex is something Darkseid wants. He's able to control Darkseid, again, the most powerful being in the DC animated universe or DC Comics universe as well. And Lex Luthor, a mere mortal, no powers, nothing can control him because he has something Darkseid wants. That is Lex Luthor's whole deal. Lex Luthor is the puppet master. He pulls the strings, no superpowers, but he is Superman's greatest enemy. And he's constantly giving Superman grief.
I feel like, is Batman a bit like that as well?
Yeah, Batman's definitely Batman. Batman actually in the like another nerd moment in the comics. They actually made an animated movie of this. He writes down all the weaknesses of the Justice League in case they go rogue, and then the supervillains find it and steal it, and so it causes this tension within the Justice League because like Batman went behind their backs, but that's Batman's whole thing. He's 10 steps ahead.
10 steps ahead. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. How he's got like out of all the superheroes, he's got the weakness for each one. That's just
He's
so
got the weakness
boss.
for each one, and he has no powers.
Yeah.
No
That's-
powers.
Yeah.
Crazy. So similar to Lex, no powers, except he uses his intellect for good. Then you have characters like Tywin Lannister, Game of Thrones,
Tywin Lannister's a great example.
the whole
of
Red
that.
Wedding situation.
Yeah.
Genius. Then you have Tyrion Lannister, his son,
Yeah.
who makes it to become king of the Hand of the King. A guy who's a dwarf that has nothing going for him except for his family name, but even that isn't that much.
Yeah.
Moves up the ranks.
So when I break this down, as I'm calibrating some of the characters that you're bringing up, Poya, the thing that comes up to me is they have the ability to a certain degree of foresight, and they have the ability of understanding what everybody wants. and they have what everybody wants, and they know how to control the chess pieces because I know that you want this, I know that you want this, I know what's going to happen in the future. So they're able to control the options.
Yeah.
And who has the most options that can say, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, or you have this option or that option, they're the ones who have the strategic power. Yeah.
I'm especially in love with the strategic alpha. Whenever my husband and I,
Is that because your husband's one? I was going to say because he's one.
but like in terms of life and like I don't know our investments in our portfolio or whatever. He was 19 when he first invested in property, and no one else was doing it. And he was reading all the like he read The Virgin Way by. What's that guy's name? Richard Branson.
Wow.
And he just read every and he hated school and he just made it work for himself.
Wow.
And when we hosted dinner party games night, he just is like, he's just the guy who wins silently. And I'm like, wow, babe, how did you do that? It's so sexy to me. I'm like, oh yeah.
And they're dangerous, bro. You don't want to screw with those people. They're very dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. They just stay silent and just destroy you.
And maybe it's even more attractive to me because he could use his powers for evil and yet he uses it for good.
Yes.
So it's, I love that you said foresight because he leads, the strategic alpha leads with foresight. He is focused on outcomes and legacy, and his strength style is calculated and composed. And where he shines is complex systems and power structures. Yeah. So he knows what everyone wants and knows how to wield that influence.
Yeah.
Have you seen strategic alphas in your life?
I was gonna ask that question, but I think this is rare, don't you think, Jess? They're rare.
Nah, CEOs.
Nah, but CEOs could be like I think DISC kind of maps on with this as well because DISC C's conscientious types are usually strategic alphas, which are the reserved but task focused people, and they're very rare. But because CEOs are usually D's and C, so they're like hurry up, get to the point, those type of like
fast decision maker,
intense. They're usually CEOs, but of course you've got different ones.
What about our mate Josh? JP.
But strategic alpha? I don't know.
Albanese, if we want to get political.
I don't know.
Jeff
I don't know
Bezos?
enough about it.
Bezos?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he just
Bezos?
gives me a vibe. Elon Musk type of.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elon Musk.
Other fictional ones would be Lucius Fox in Batman.
Yeah, Lucius Fox.
I was, you guys know, I was going to use Carlo Ancelotti, who is the manager for Real Madrid, who's like won $1 million. What is he? I don't know. Matt, you talk about him.
Oh, well, yeah, you win Champions League and La Liga several times. One of the most decorated managers of all time.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Not an easy thing to do. Yeah, it's literally moving
and
players
it's
around.
being able to manage the biggest egos in the world as well, right? Like and have them listen to you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
strategies.
Because then you have to know what everybody wants. You have to have the ability to foresight. If this happens, he's going to react like this.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to
Pep
navigate
Guardiola
that.
would be another good one for that.
Who's that?
He's the Man City manager.
Oh yes. Yes.
Same with actually Jose Mourinho. Anyway, many football
I
managers
love it.
would suit this role very well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, Kevin Feige, guy who runs Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Interesting.
I mean, he created the first shared universe in cinema, which no one thought was possible. He took the worst Marvel characters that they... So, for context, Marvel Film Studios was a film studio that Marvel Comics created. They only had the film rights to their worst characters because they sold all the film rights to Spider-Man, X-Men, different studios to get out of bankruptcy. Kevin Feige, this producer, starts Marvel Studios and makes one of the biggest superhero movies of all time with Iron Man, which was a nothing character.
Yes.
Follows that up with a Thor movie, again a nothing character. Then Captain America, who people are people going to buy that? Wow. Especially in a post-Iraq War world where everyone hates. And then Avengers, which no one thought would work, where you're putting all these different heroes in together, creating probably one of the most successful media franchises. Kevin Feige, that guy. And look, they haven't been doing great recently, but to get those first 10 years from like Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, phenomenal. I think he's a great example of strategic
Especially
alpha.
when you look at all the movies they've tried to make after as well.
Yeah.
It's not like anything you put out there is working, right? Like that's it took a lot of understanding. A couple of controversial ones to throw in there.
Ooh.
P. Diddy and Epstein
Oh,
are both.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's used for evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just watched the Diddy documentary actually. Did he do it? Yes. And he like the way he was able to pull strings and understand trends and jump on top of them and like the power. Disgusting, of course, but incredibly impressive in some sick way.
Yeah.
Gary V.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he knows what's going to happen, that type of thing as well.
Yeah.
He's not behind the scenes though. He's the least behind the scenes fan of all time.
True. That's true. So just question here is, so you said that you would find them, you see that in your husband, you find that sexy. Question, like, I know you can't speak for all women, but like, do a lot of women find that sexy?
That's a really, really good question.
What do you think? Like, just from your perspective of what you've picked up on.
I think it is a form of invisible strength. You know how last episode we were talking about the quiet alpha, and if a healthy woman is looking for the right things or the right signals. I think, Poya, you were talking about your cousin Ben, who's a quiet alpha.
Yeah.
Shout out to him again.
Shout out to Ben. He's probably listening to this.
And then I couldn't help but go, wait a sec, quiet alpha and strategic alpha kind of overlap, because the quiet alpha could be just the differentiation between a quiet alpha and a strategic alpha. The strategic alpha actually has dominance through being so calculated, like through actually having the skill of knowing how to pull strings, and is really observant as a result. Like every Survivor winner could be that. But the quiet alpha is he just puts his head down and works and is all about mission and does the honorable thing, but is not necessarily the cleverest or the flashiest or the most charismatic or the most impressive. He's just a man of honor.
Yeah, I think there's a massive distinction between those two men.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the 6 alpha, I feel like there's even more of an overlap, which is coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. But do women find this sexy? I think if women are looking for it, then they will be attracted to it. In my own personality, this is my own self-reflection, but I just don't think I'm a strategic person. It's something that I'm cultivating in my own life. I recently, please don't judge me, but I have been watching the Traitors. I've watched the British Traitors, I've watched the American Traitors, and I've watched the Australian Traitors. Does anyone know anything about the Traitors?
Is that to do with stocks?
No.
Oh, okay.
The
Traitors.
the traitors, as in like someone who betrays you.
Oh, the Traitors.
So it's, as a Christian watching it, I'm like, it's some really dark elements to this reality show. But my husband's like, why are you so interested in watching this? And I'm like, because I'm just too honest. Like I could never. So it's like 20 people get chosen to play on this show. And then they all have to close their eyes, with blindfolds. And the host walks around and picks 3 of them to betray the rest of the group. And they have to pretend that they're faithfuls. They have to pretend that they're not. Yeah, that they're just like them.
Interesting.
And I just think I said to my husband, you would be an amazing traitor. Because I would be a terrible traitor. I'm like too honest. I get too flustered if I'm not in control. And I just couldn't be. But I want to be better at that skill. Like not at manipulating people, but at having the skill to manipulate people, maybe. Sounds terrible. Yeah. Because my concern with strategic alphas is it's like an acquired taste or like a sophisticated woman's taste, if I do say so myself, gentlemen. But maybe most women only see this after the fruit shows.
You know what, Jess? Yeah. I'm starting to realize when I just reflect on what the date would look like, what I get this very feminine, chatty woman.
Yes.
And because he's quiet, he automatically commands mystery.
Yes.
Right? So she's like, I want to get to know you. Like, tell me about this, tell me about that. And
That's
he's just like
to me. Yes.
So he's very like he's not trying to be mysterious. He just is very like, chill and he's very just focused on his inner world and he's like, you know, his business or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So because she finds him mysterious, and remember my formula for this is what I think is attraction is envy plus curiosity equals attraction.
Yeah.
So she'd be envious of the fact that she doesn't know about him, and there's curiosity in the fact that like he's not saying enough. You know what I mean? So there'd be attraction there for those types, and I see it. I see that.
You see that, yeah.
I see the dynamic of the chatty feminine woman
Yeah.
and the quiet kind of guy.
It's a minus plus.
Yeah.
Because she's talkative and, you know, social and feels the space and
Yes.
the sound.
Yeah.
Whereas he's just grounded.
Grounded and empty. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess like my concern is that if you're listening to this and you think you're a strategic alpha gentleman, how do you stay emotionally connected instead of becoming overly cerebral or distant? Like just as you described on
Yeah.
the date,
Yeah.
just like quiet and all about your inner world.
Yeah.
But I want to know from Matt, have you seen a strategic alpha crop up in your practice, and how does he present?
Someone who's very calculated.
Yeah. Because obviously if he's coming to you, he's getting it wrong. He's getting his strategy wrong.
Yes, true. Yeah, so is overthinking a form of strategy
Yeah.
of being strategic then?
Yeah.
And sorry, what was the question?
So how does he present? So you've just said he overthinks.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, like, if I'm referring to a strategic alpha though, and actually I just need clarity on that. Let's look at an analogy. If you imagine the classic alpha in a fight is like, you know, bare knuckle brawler and beats her up and then kisses the girl afterwards. Is this strategic alpha, who's the guy, Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock Holmes?
Oh,
you know,
yes.
how he has to do he does all the
Yes.
clever stuff.
He's a strategic
it's like
alpha.
They both brought down the big hulking guy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like the outcome's the same. It's a form of resourcefulness, I guess.
Yes.
Yes.
He's the most high agency guy.
Yeah, he would be highest agency. Him and Bourne's what's his name? Jason Bourne. Yeah.
Yeah.
But go on.
As for encountering them, not that come to mind specifically, like that strategic alpha type.
Because usually they're already doing pretty well, right?
Strategy's worked.
Yeah, whether
Done the
it's that,
testing.
or I don't know how easy it is to identify that trait in someone based on the conversations I'm having. Like, I can't personally think of one that I know off the top of my head.
Right.
Can you?
Yeah, well, I would map that on with the model of DISC, which is conscientious. So I would usually find it as someone who's reserved but task focused, which is Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and then you've got reserved but people focused, which is Morgan Freeman. You know, which is like people who are counselors and Oprah. You know what I mean? So two different types. So I would just go reserved, task focused, Elon Musk, Bill Gates. There's kind of like. Maybe even a little bit socially awkward, but very strategic, like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That's how I would pick it.
Oh, maybe most of them are socially awkward. Or if the guys who are coming to you become strategic alphas, then the preamble of him like coming into his alphaness is being that socially awkward fumbly guy.
Is it
Maybe.
channeling the
that's true.
overthinking into strategy?
Maybe.
I'll have to think about that. I haven't got something in my head that's like, yes, this is my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I've seen them or that I've identified.
But it's good that you did pick up on the overthinking, because if they're strategic, their like shadow side would be they just overthink it. You know, so that's true. That would make sense.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I have seen quite a bit lately. I put a post out the other day. It was like how I defined being rich at 23, and it was like a Porsche and a Rolex and all that stuff. And then how I define it now is I love my wife and kids, and we have everything we need. And this one guy goes, the definition didn't change. You just settled for less, right? And
Oh,
Ouch!
very interesting.
and I looked up this dude, and he's put like 100 comments on different posts, anything to do with
No
money.
display
and
picture.
He's just calling people. He has a bunch of pictures of him actually, and he's just
Bold.
calling everyone a loser if you're earning a small amount of money or whatever. Like if you're not doing well, he's doing better than everyone financially. You look at his page; he's got all these different cars. I'm thinking. Is he just like? Is this all just fake? And why is he being an asshole to me? Basically, is what I'm trying to figure out. Is it all fake, or some guys are just really good at making money and they're super strategic like that.
Yep.
But you try to apply that to girls, they've just got no idea
Yep.
what to possibly do.
No game.
Yeah, so I guess if we're referring to people like that, then their best solution would be to figure out how to channel that into traits women find attractive, and many traits of what make these guys up, women would find attractive. I would even theorize that they'd find it easier as boyfriends than they would in the attraction phase.
Where they're in the relationship and they've won the girl.
Yes.
Ish. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I think this is a really good nucleus, guys, to just think about. I reckon it'll come as a bubble and then it'll just pop over your life and you'll see it.
That was so visceral. I love it.
Okay. Alpha number 6. The servant alpha, the shepherd. Is he Jesus Christ? Probably, but that's too obvious, so I've decided to go with somebody else. This kind of man doesn't need applause to lead. His authority comes from the weight of his life, his consistency, his faithfulness, his restraint. And often he's the most underestimated man in the room. That's part of what makes his archetype so Christ-like. Jesus didn't come in power and thunder. He came washing feet, walking quietly, forgiving enemies, enduring mockery without flinching. He was constantly underestimated by men who thought power only looked like war horses and empires. In this scene from Ted Lasso, no surprise there.
Great
We watch a
one to use.
moment that captures the same spirit. Ted, who is a goofy, relentless, optimistic coach, has been underestimated all season. People see him as a joke, but in this scene, during a simple game of darts, he reveals the quiet depth of who he really is, and he doesn't fight with ego. I love Ted Lasso so much. Play the clip.
Perfect.
This will be the 97th time I've seen this clip.
I watch this clip at least once a day.
To G you up.
No, it's not all Ted's fault. My ex-wife's the one who brought the hillbilly to our shores. I know she's always been a bit randy, but I never thought she would fuck over an entire team.
Hey! Better manners when I'm holding the dart. Please.
Now I know why you like that. It's really a man with manners.
Nice. What do I need to win?
2 triple 20s and a bullseye.
Good luck.
You know, Rupert, guys have underestimated me my entire life. And for years, I never understood why. It used to really bother me. But then one day, I was driving my little boy to school, and I saw this quote by Walt Whitman. It was painted on the wall there. It said, "Be curious, not judgmental." I like that. So I get back in my car, and I'm driving to work, and all of a sudden, it hits me. All them fellas that used to belittle me, not a single one of them were curious. You know, they thought they had everything all figured out, and so they judged everything, and they judged everyone. And I realized that they're underestimating me. Who I was had nothing to do with it. Because if they were curious, they would ask questions. You know? Questions like, have you played a lot of darts, Ted? Which I would have answered, yes, sir. Every Sunday afternoon at a sports bar with my father from age 10 until I was 16 when he passed away. Barbecue sauce. Good game, Ruben.
Come on, let's go.
You are a very lovely consolation prize. Rebecca, Ted, enjoy your evening. Mate, as always.
Holy, that
She's
felt
such
good.
a nice character too. Yeah.
You know what I love? Like, he was so good at darts, but he did it for her. Like, he did it purely in service of her. And that's the difference between maybe the classic and the servant alpha. I also want to point out that there's clear overlap between the servant alpha and the alpha, which is what I thought maybe you guys would bring up.
Yes.
Okay, so here is the differentiation, which probably I didn't do justice to with Aragorn being the example of quiet alpha, because he could also be a servant alpha too. But while the quiet alpha leads with example, the servant alpha leads with sacrifice, while the quiet alpha focuses on inner excellence, so like sort of doing just a job well. the servant alpha is just all about the well-being of others. Like they just want other people to be taken care of. The strength style for the quiet alpha is stoic, solid, and dependable, whereas the servant alpha is noble, tender, and grounded. And crisis leadership is where, and long-term trust is where the quiet alpha shines, but the servant alpha shines in family, mentorship, and spiritual life. So, yeah, I don't know if it's a huge differentiation for you guys, but is underestimation a key characteristic of the servant alpha? Where do you personally feel the tension between wanting to be seen as strong versus actually being strong in this way?
Jess, I have to ask you this question.
Yeah.
And you guys tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Is it still alpha if he's mainly a people pleaser?
Is Ted a people pleaser? I don't think Ted is.
No, I don't think Ted is.
Yeah.
I don't think Ted. No, I don't think Ted is. But I think this is what's interesting though. I think in real life, like this is just the intuition I get. In real life, Ted would be a people pleaser, but I think it's hard to find a real character like that who's actually that well-being focused that doesn't have overlap in people pleaser. It's very, very rare to find that. In fact, I don't know if I've ever find one.
Or he was and he grew out of that, or he evolved out of that.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. But I don't know if
I feel like Superman's another good example.
Of a servant alpha?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Like Superman's always trying
sure.
to like put others first. He's very in touch with his emotions. Especially I think the new Superman movie will illustrate this well, but in the comics, yeah, he's always just checking in on people and looking after people.
Yeah.
And even though he's the strongest man in his universe, I do think that I think people underestimate his humility and kindness. I mean, that's why people are trying to kill him the whole time. People think he's going to be a threat, but he's not. So, and in that way, I guess you could say he's underestimated. Yeah, I think the difference between people pleasing is done for yourself. When you people please, you're doing it for yourself.
Validation, yeah.
Yeah, when you're being a servant, you're doing it for others and out of a sense of duty. And so I think people can tell when you're most of the time someone can tell if you're being a people pleaser.
Is there a difference between people pleasing and the need to be needed?
Yeah, because again, the need to be needed I think is other centered, because people pleasing is about getting validated, as you said, Matt, getting validation. It's about how you look to others. Being needed is more about, are these people going to be okay?
Wait, needing to be needed though, you mentioned.
Oh, needing to be needed.
I think it's an inherent trait in, and not to say it's not in women, but in certainly every man I've encountered in some way wants to be needed. I'm sure that applies to every woman as well, if it does to men. But it is how far you're willing to go for it though. And yeah, it's are you willing to sacrifice your own values and boundaries and your own needs in favor of other people. And there are times where you have to, and that's a noble thing. But yeah, when it's constantly coming at the sacrifice of yourself and your self-respect, I think that's when it's a problem. But I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling the need to be needed. I think we all do.
That's good. That's a good point. I was reflecting on this and I realized you're very right. He's definitely a strong servant-hearted alpha. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because not only is in that moment he's doing someone a favor, he's willing to directly oppose someone else in order to protect.
Yeah.
That's what makes him an alpha.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Because that's showing disagreeableness. Because that's not what people pleasers have all the time.
That's true.
So if you're showing disagreeableness, So disagreeableness in the face of protecting someone else, that's very alpha. Immediately you think, yeah, that person's an alpha.
Isn't it such a hopeful flip for any guy you're coaching who's a people pleaser? You can show him this dart scene from Ted Lasso and be like, you can be this. This is your evolution.
Yeah. No, but seriously. Right?
Yeah. He's the man. Yeah, I think most men should aspire to be like Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
It's such a great type of masculinity. Like even that, whoa, easy when I'm holding darts. Like, that's that was such a cool way he did that. When he talks to that sissy girl, where they flirt, a sassy, sorry.
That's done very nicely.
He's just so charming, but also assertive, but like in no way brash or overbearing. He's a great dude.
Yeah, great. Yeah, he's a great example, I would have to say.
He is.
Yeah.
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 I have to say, this is the most stereotypically acceptable kind of Christian guy energy or Christian guy. If a pastor was trying to disciple a whole congregation of men, they would lead them to the servant alpha. And I think other forms of alpha, like the strategic alpha, would be less accepted or maybe less.
He's more like a Robert
palatable.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Theology, please. Yeah. Why is this form of masculinity often seen as weak until it wins people over?
Interesting.
I think there's a bunch of one that comes to mind is people's natural cynicism. Is like, and I've actually copped that a lot. Not to call myself this type of alpha, but I've copped that a lot where people can be a bit standoffish towards me, and when they've met me a couple of times, they'll actually say to me, I didn't realize you were so genuine, and you actually were so you actually cared. I guess. Yeah, I think cynicism. People don't believe it, and there's a lot of that happens in Ted Lasso for the first few episodes. People think like he must be nuts, or there must be something wrong with him not to fight back. Anyway, there's many reasons.
Yeah. You know, like when I think of this, my first instance was, these guys are really rare.
Yeah.
But then I thought of one like typical example that shows that, like a typical example of that would happen in everyday life that would show that this person's self an alpha or a servant alpha moment, which is when maybe there's someone who gets, let's just say, bullied or whatever, or no one likes them, but then this person actually defends them. Right? So this person's like in the midst of everyone wants to like go off at them or whatever. This person would kind of like defend them and be like, no, because I see something in them or whatever. Like, I'm not going to take the easy path and like, no, I think this guy's good. Like, don't go off at him. Don't bag him out, whatever. So I think if you see some of that, I think that's a little bit of servant alpha, like who goes against the social grain in order to defend someone.
Yeah.
And that happens. It happens all the time. Like, let's just say you're at a friend group and then like I've done it to a few people, like I've talking to Poya and I'm like, I don't really like that guy. And he'll say, nah, don't say anything about him. Like, I really like him. He's actually a good guy. Like, so there's been moments like that.
Aww.
Yeah.
Poya, any thoughts from you?
The servant alpha?
Because I feel like you would have a lot of servant alphas crop up in your own life.
Yeah. I think they're underestimated because they're not trying to draw attention to themselves. And I think people confuse masculinity with attention. And because they don't want attention, because they're not prone to violence, and they're measured and they're controlled, I think people can often underestimate them because they feel that's weak. But the difference is that a servant alpha knows when to let out the dog, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that people who are low level of consciousness or emotional intelligence aren't able to pick that up, and so they just assume that person's a pushover until they're in a situation where they're shown that they're not.
Yeah. And usually if they're shown, it's usually because they're defending someone else.
Yeah. And I think like Jason Wilson, great example. Yeah, he's search up Jason Wilson. He's great.
He's a great example.
Yeah. He's probably apart from Matt, one of the best masculinity influences out there, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Your Andrew Tates and stuff, I think when you compare someone like that to someone like Ted Lasso, you see the stark difference. That's all bravado.
Yeah.
There's almost this need to be violent. However, with Ted, it's measured, it's controlled. There's gentleness, but the truth is, and you may think that they can't stand up for themselves or stand for others, but the truth is they just know when. They know when aggression's needed, and everything's controlled. It's total mastery of the self, I think.
That practice scene with Jamie.
Yeah,
that was that's made me tear up a few times watching that. Is like he came down on him like such a dad. Like he really needed that. Jamie needed a good father figure
from Roy,
from Ted.
Oh, okay.
Ted had been such a sweetheart to everyone up until that moment.
Yeah.
He just went nuts at him, and it like everyone in the locker room had to look. They're like, "Holy shit! I didn't realize he had it."
Ted had it. Yeah.
That's me when the servant alpha, when the dog comes out, everyone's like, "What? Where did that come from?" They freak out.
And but he also did it for a wrong reason as well, because he was triggered about something before. So that scene
Oh,
where
that's
he goes
true.
off.
Yeah.
He was triggered about something before, and he kind of lost his cool.
the practice bit?
Yeah. So well, not the.
No, it wasn't that bit because that
Right.
that was specifically because he knew embarrassing in front of the locker room would
Had you
give
too.
it a
Oh.
reaction. Yeah.
Maybe that was.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
I need to
about.
watch
Yep,
this.
yep.
I've been
You're
in
right.
my watching reruns of Ted Lasso phase, so I'm gonna watch this
You
episode
need a bit
again.
of happiness. Just push the Ted Lasso button.
Except for season 3, that got pretty dark.
Yeah. that
Good
was-
season, just very dark.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Conscious of time, I am so curious. Now that you know what all the 6 alphas are, the classic, the contextual, the quiet alpha, the charismatic alpha, the strategic alpha, and the servant alpha. Those are the 6 alpha types. Like you're at a yoga berry yogurt shop, pick and choose what kind of alphas you think you are. Top 3.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Because I'm just analyzing my husband as everyone's talking, and I'm like, yeah, I can pick what he is. Yeah, and I've had to like have these 2 conversations in order to come to this conclusion. But I want to know, does anyone have an answer so far?
Would anyone like to just hear Jess say
What I think you guys are.
I feel like it's a bit tacky if we say it, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon.
You think it's a bit tacky?
Yeah, that's fine. It's not that. It's not tacky. But like, what do you think? What do you think?
Okay, let's see. Okay, I think Poya is a charismatic alpha.
Yeah.
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 I think that's like probably your main one. If this were a quiz, that's you'd be the highest
main one.
points of the charismatic alpha.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually
And-
true. Yeah.
And the servant alpha as well.
Yes.
Charismatic and
Yes,
servant.
yes. For sure.
Matt, definitely contextual alpha. Definitely a frame holder. Definitely the intellectual, intellectually dominant one in the room.
So strategic as well, because
And
he's very-
strategic, yes.
yeah, for
Definitely
sure.
strategic
Yeah,
as well.
threads, man. You're always going on about threads and your strategy with threads.
Because you strategically
You're very
think about
good
your
at that.
content. It's very strategic for sure. It's got to be strategic
Okay, yeah,
as well.
yeah. I don't classify myself as a particularly strategic person.
But you are in your
I
content.
do see quite a few steps ahead socially often though, if that's part of it. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'll
yeah.
give you those 2. Kevin.
Yes.
I feel like I know Kevin the best out of you 3 boys.
Right.
Definitely charismatic alpha.
Right. Okay.
And you guys have different kinds of charisma as well. So it's not
Which is different. It's very different. Yeah.
Which is good news.
Yeah.
Because I think 2 charismatic alphas in the room just need to know what their God-given design is, and then they can flourish.
Yeah.
What's a better word? Dominate. That's a more masculine word for it.
Yeah.
The other one that Kevin would be probably servant for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're all about service. You're all about serving people, your clients, your family, your kids.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like I hear that word from you a lot.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Can we just talk about my husband for a sec?
Yeah, for sure.
Shout
Let's
out-
break him down.
Shout
But
out
you
to
know what?
Tom.
It's good because it's someone you intimately know.
Yeah.
So there's a
that's
lot that you
true.
can say about it. So what do you think?
I would say he is predominantly a strategic alpha,
Yeah.
to the point that he often goes unnoticed. So he's been in some communities for more than 10 years, right? Like, for example, church. And I just feel like people don't notice him.
Yeah.
And I think, how can people not notice him?
Does he care, though?
I see him so much. Like
Yeah.
for me, he just takes up all this space in my mental real estate, but no one really sees him. And I
Yeah.
think that's great for me because I'm the one that got him.
Yeah.
But I'm like, great. Does he care? No, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a-
Yeah.
Rat's bum.
Yeah, that's what makes him hotter to my eyes immediately.
And the other thing that he is probably servant, but like a really minuscule amount. I was like, is he a lot of servant? No, he's most strategic alpha, and maybe
Right.
contextual a bit as well. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, if you do not see yourself as a protector, pastor, or powerhouse, gentlemen, do you have something encouraging to say to him? What would you say to him about discovering his unique form of masculine leadership? Was that too high level a question?
Yeah. So I think the whole takeaway from these last two episodes, which Jess, you done brilliant breaking these down. Such a brilliant, I think it's such a valuable, piece of content for anybody. A lot of guys, what they do is they look at social media, they look at movies, they look at music, and they think, oh, this is what it means to really be an alpha. But what I think you've done is you've opened up the gateway to just go, if you look if you look a little bit closer, no, there's actually different types of alphas that you can be, and it doesn't always necessarily have to be the douchebag alpha, right? And it can also allow you to be able to use whatever unique flavor that you have to step into the most advanced masculine part of you. Because some are the strategic looking at movies and going, oh, well, I'm not cocky, I'm not loud like that, and just going, can I not be an alpha? You know what I mean? And then you've also got people who are like, you know, very contextual, very wise, who are just like, oh, well, that's what it means to be an alpha, and they kind of put themselves down. So what I like is that you've opened up the menu to just be like, oh, you can use whatever unique personality you have to step into the next version of you to be the alpha and to get the things that an alpha would get. Maybe it's the girl, maybe it's the success, maybe it's the business, maybe it's the emotional control. So my summary statement for guys is that you can be an alpha no matter who you are.
Yeah. And no participation trophies. Just want to say that
for sure. Yeah.
Matt, thank you for being on our podcast for the
thank you
third
so much
time.
for having me.
And
It was an absolute pleasure.
2 out of 3. But I want to know from you, what's at stake here? Why should men, because aside from the fact that I've said, hey, there are data points, women are actually not wanting the classic alpha, that it doesn't cut the mustard anymore to be a classic alpha. There's other character traits.
Which is interesting.
You said last time there's a passageway into being the alpha. There's something at stake here. Where do you think there's hope for men? Especially the men that you coach.
Hope for men. Sorry, can you please elaborate on that a bit more? Like
in terms of being attractive to women, if they feel like, well, I'm not like that guy, I'm not attractive.
Okay, got you. Yeah, so I think I often tell clients the perfect imitation of anyone else will authentic you is infinitely more attractive than even the perfect imitation of anyone else. So I think that, and I think the best way to figure out what the best version of you is to go out there and get real world data, have a couple of people in your corner who can give you feedback along the way. Try not to listen to too much white noise on the internet. It's mostly the angriest men and women who get their voices to the top of the algorithm anyway. I think learning trial and error. Where I find something like this framework would be very helpful is, first of all, as Kevin mentioned, that it is so great to know that I don't have to be the rock to be considered attractive to women, or a leader in my community. And I also think that it's so helpful for guys who already identify with a few of the traits, and then realizing the benefits of them, and then encouraging them to reinforce those traits in their life. I think that's very helpful. The 6 is so nuanced, but then, and I'm sure you've even noticed this with your own research, there are guys who will be, that's why you didn't ask for, which one are we, it's what are our top 3, right? It's, there are guys who have a little bit of each. If you can figure out the one that you most, I guess it's a combination of aspiring to be it and that it feels natural to you, you should push more in that direction where you can. But if there's other traits that sort of apply to the other ones that you feel are part of your strengths, work on them as well. I don't know if I've gone on a few tangents here, but that's my thoughts.
I think that's a bow. And that's a wrap. That's all we have time for. Thank you.
Thank you.